Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast with the two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. Ben tried to make me laugh during the intro, but I don't care. I'm going to keep it in.
Well, it's because you said welcome. You really pronounced that.
Yeah.
Welcome.
You may have heard Ben. Ben is my co-host. Say hello to the lovely people.
I've messed up your rhythm now, but yes, I'm Ben. I'm here. Introduce yourself.
Podcast.
Did you already do that?
Did
you say your name? Yeah.
I'm the main host this week. I should start again, but I can't be fucked.
No.
Okay.
Well, you are kind of the main host because I believe you are bringing a pitch to the table again this week.
Yes, 2 weeks running.
2 weeks running. This is going to be a new trend. I better come up with something good for next week.
Let's hope that we don't take half an hour on this one like we did last week.
Yeah, whatever. If it's good.
Yeah. Okay. So
tell us what you've been thinking about and what you and I had a brief Facebook conversation about.
Just a little bit of background about how I came up with this idea. I've been playing an old game from like 1987 called The Fools Errand. And it's basically a puzzle game that's very non-linear. It's got like meta puzzles all the way through and all this sort of stuff. It just really piques my interest. Because
is that something you played when you were a kid? Or
yeah, so I remember playing it when I was just a wee lad on our 386 because we had colour. Because it wasn't on our the XT, which only had 4 colours. But I still remember playing with Dad and trying to work through all these different bits and pieces. We only got about halfway through the game. Because like we never finished. There's like this big map that you got to sort of put together after you solve all the puzzles, and we never got through that. So anyway, I played it the other day, finished it, and thought, you know what? I'd love to make a puzzle game. So
you quite like puzzle games. Like I think you play a bit more of those sorts of games than I do. I often just get a bit sick of them or a bit bored early on. But did you play all the way through The Witness?
All the way through to going into the mountain.
Okay.
I didn't finish anywhere past that, but I finished all the upstairs parts.
You definitely got further than I did. And you played, what was that other one you really liked? Antechamber?
Oh, I love that Antechamber. I've played that so many hours. I think I got like 25 hours or something in that game. I finished that about 6 or 7 times just because there's different paths all the way through that, which I absolutely love.
I think a puzzle game would, particularly for you, is something you'd have some knowledge there of how to structure that and the types of puzzles.
So we got to talking. I just sent you a message saying, I've been playing The Fools Errand. I'd love to, get into doing a puzzle game, all with the intention of sort of going, I'm going to start this puzzle game up and it's going to be done with an iPhone or something like that. And you basically said straight away, yeah, so VR.
That's just what we do. Well, no, because I think there was something particular. Because did you bring up that? Because the first puzzle type you brought up was the like ring, the hoop and wire.
Yeah, I think that was after you already sort of pointed me in the VR direction. So
VR,
straight
maybe,
away,
okay.
Thought about having a wire and having to put the hoop over and not touch the wire, and if you touch the wire, then you got to start again, sort of thing.
So one of those classic like kids like electronics, building things, simple electronics where it's like it buzzes or it shocks you or something. I know people have built those. If the ring touches the wire and you have to like move it along a windy wire. But then what I was thinking was the things you could do, having that sort of game in a VR space is having kind of multiple paths through the wires and, some of them maybe, like a switch, kind of like a train switch, right? Like moving the wire from one to the other on a timed basis, or maybe you trigger it in some way with your other hand or something. But, obviously still having to, you'd have to move the ring with that wire while you're on it or something to get it through to the right spot. And so you could have a bunch of sort of tangled wires almost, and the puzzle is basically getting through it without touching the edge still.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe you got 3 strikes or something.
As we were talking, we started coming up with the idea of, okay, how do we actually make this sort of restricted? So I came up with this idea. I just sent you a picture of this sort of thing. And it was...
Paint me a mind picture, Trevor.
Paint you a mind picture. So you start off the game and there's just this bright white light all around you. And you sort of get introduced to the fact that you play an AI that can take control of like robots in certain like laboratory settings throughout this establishment. when you're not possessing one of the robots, you're in the void, in which you can sort of only access like a menu system to choose which robot you're going to go off to. Basically, then it means that you can have a lot of stuff in room scale and that sort of stuff with the VR, not having to have any real movement other than teleporting into a robot, and then you can just limit the movement in the room to how far the robot can actually go, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I've seen games like this. Like, I think there's that free one called Form. Did you play that one? The kind of thing comes with the Rift.
It is not free. I bought that one.
It's free because I used your version of it, is it?
Yes.
For some reason I thought that one was free.
But, I love the fact that Steam allows you to to share your library.
Don't tell anyone we're not in the same family, Trevor.
You're
it's
my
family
brother.
Sharing. Yeah, that's true. Pot brothers.
It's actually friends and family sharing, so I'm pretty sure you're fine.
If anyone at Valve is listening to this,
we're family.
We're family.
blood brothers.
We're family, and also make some of these awesome games we're coming up with. So Form had that sort of thing where it was, sort of somewhat room scale. You're standing up, but yeah, you're kind of just moving between these different puzzle stations, and that was fairly linear, but just
fairly linear, but was a good experience. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
So we started talking about a few different ideas for puzzles that you could bring in. Sort of the idea of having a VR word search sort of idea intrigued me. Whether it was, sort of a hidden object game, or you literally had letters floating in the air and you had to sort of get perspective on it to then select the letters.
I hadn't actually thought of that aspect. That's kind of cool. Yeah. I like the idea of having to move your head around so you get different letters next to other ones.
Yeah, so you have to get down low and you line it up and you can sort of, okay, now I can select that word.
I wonder how, that'd be an interesting design challenge to... Just trying to think of the kind of 3D space that would be required to really do that effectively, and where you'd have the letters. But yeah, that's cool.
And I suppose that's the problem with using Facebook Messenger to actually discuss these sort of things. You couldn't see what I was.
Aren't you lucky that we have a podcast where we talk about exactly this thing?
So you can sort of tell this is exactly what we do when we're not podcasting, so we might as well just keep on recording.
We do this all the time. This is why we started this whole podcast. So, look, you mentioned a menu system getting between the robots.
Yes.
And we can talk a bit about how that's structured. I was actually picturing when we were talking about it that it's more that you, from any particular robot, you have other robots that are within line of sight that you can kind of jump to. Yep. And that's a way for you to kind of get the lay of the land of the whole facility that you're in. And as you unlock one puzzle, it opens a door or something or moves something so that you can then see the next robot in that particular sequence.
Yep.
Because do you want to talk a little bit about how you were thinking the puzzles tree would be structured? Again,
because I was looking at the Fools Errand, and I think that is such a perfect way of actually seeing it, because we haven't talked about the other part that I want to bring into it. But in the Fool's Errand, you can see straight away you've got 5 menu items at the top, and you can see every single possible puzzle that is actually within those menu structures. I think there's like 60-something puzzles in the Fool's Errand. I was going for something like 40, but they're just spread between like 8 different puzzle types or 10 different puzzle types that the guy had made.
Yep.
But you only have like 7 of them unlocked at the very start. And there's a little story that sort of runs along, and as you go through one puzzle, another puzzle will unlock, and you get moved straight to that one. And you keep going down that thread until that thread sort of finishes, and then you can select from the list another puzzle. And you can go down that thread.
And that thread had kind of was also a story thread, like that had told a specific kind of sequence of events.
Yep. So in the Fool's Errand, basically there's a story that goes all the way through the map. So each item is a section of the map that you can go through. 60 sections of the map. What actually happens in some parts is you finish a puzzle and it will then reference the answer to that puzzle in this bit of the story. But that bit of the story could be in a totally different part of the map. So it's not sequential in that way. So reading the story is actually best to do it as you're finishing each puzzle. You read the next part of the story. So that got me the idea of using a diary system as well. Having basically, as you finish a puzzle, you get a diary entry to read. And you can have different, I think we discussed like 5 or 3 different story threads that you can sort of go down.
Yeah, well, I was trying to limit your scope because you're talking about this in that you actually want to attempt to make it.
Yes, I was talking that way, yes.
Yeah, which is great. Obviously, I highly encourage that and would love to help you if I had the time. I may even carve out some time to mess around with some stuff with you. But yes, I was trying to limit your scope because I well know how overscoping a project can just make it seem really daunting and not get anything done. But yeah, I think we talked about 3 to 5 story threads. So basically, at the beginning of the game, those would be the puzzles that are open to you, and they'd be relatively simple and kind of tutorial-esque. And they could also, you could potentially branch them later down the line as well. Maybe one story thread, there are a couple of characters involved, and, for 3 puzzles in this direction, you follow this character, and then 3 puzzles in the other direction, you see the same, you get the same events from the perspective of the other character or something like that.
Yeah, and that's all to do with story writing. So that's something that doesn't need to be done right at the start, just knowing that we have, sort of 3 different stories that we want to go down, and there you find out more stuff throughout the puzzles. Yep. Again, something coming from the Fools Errand is if you get stuck on a puzzle, you can go somewhere else.
I think it's important to have that.
And so after a while, you're not going to know what story thread you're actually on. You'll just finish a puzzle, and you'll get a diary entry, and you'll go, oh, that's to do with this story that I have already sort of heard a little bit about.
Now, with so you're thinking they're not literally paths. Like, you don't go from one to the next of a particular story thread and then abandon that for a while if you want to try a different puzzle? Or
I think what will actually happen is when you start, you have 3 or 5 puzzles open, and each one will be assigned to a story thread. So if you finish, say, puzzle A, you go down to puzzle B in that story thread, and C, and then D. But if you get stuck on that one and you go over to a different puzzle, then you're looking at that story thread. And
but is that kind of played out in the physical space as well? In that, if we're taking my idea of you jump from robot to robot based on line of sight, if you've done 1A, 1B, 1C, and they're all of story thread 1, then you probably have to jump back to 1A to get over to 2A or 3A. And then,
if you do it that way, yes. That's why I like the menu system of being able to just choose, okay, let's try this puzzle over here.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my issue with that is if you're making a VR game and then just put everything in menus, that seems really like a waste.
I know, but I like menus.
maybe more of a map view or something. So you can quickly jump to any that are unlocked by bringing up a map. Or maybe I guess you're having the whole thing of when you're in the void.
Yep.
But
pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe in the void, as you start finishing puzzles, a little model of the laboratory starts taking shape.
Well, and so let's talk a little bit more about that, because I like the idea of the void. And my thought about being an AI is that the void is sort of you in just your receptive state to the machines and things around you that you can control. And that you're aware of. And as an AI, you're sort of learning and you're growing. And so, as you unlock these puzzles, that's kind of you learning and growing and becoming more intelligent, and thus able to kind of interpret more of the things around you and what you're seeing. And so, the void would kind of fill out a bit. And part of that could be a map, a 3D map would be cool to be able to look around and point at and go to particular puzzles in there. But maybe as you look around the room, you get more visuals of sort of the backstory and that sort of thing, which we can talk about as well.
Yes. So we were talking about, what sort of twist could we come up with and that sort of stuff. Now, if we're actually going to make this, it may not end up being this, because otherwise everyone can come and find out the twist right here. But
whatever.
The first one that you actually said, because I sort of said, let's not go for something tropey. And then
I came up with something totally tropey, but then totally latched onto it. Yeah.
Yeah. In that the AI is actually has some sort of human element. Yeah. From one of the story threads, I think we decided was one of the scientists had a child who was dying, so somehow injected or connected their brain to the system.
Yeah, basically my idea was that there's a scientist and they're studying AI, and it is tropey. It's one of those typical things of they can't crack the problem, and what do they need, and And part of it is that, like, if they
Human
have
element.
human, a live human brain or something, or aspects of fresh brain tissue or something, but maybe particularly from a child, because it's like the neuroplasticity or whatever, that they could solve it. And then they've also got this kid who's dying, and they decide to just go for it. And, they're rationalizing it as letting their child live on, but their partner doesn't see it that way, and so part of the backstory you get is the whole argument around that, and that it basically, maybe it gets out and ends up shutting the whole thing down, but not until it had sparked the seed that would grow into this AI, basically, and then this is 6 months later or something, and you're in this abandoned laboratory where they've been trying to use all these robots to train AI from a childlike intelligence up to an adult intelligence, and that's where you come
and then we started talking about the void itself actually becoming, like, gradually bits and pieces get added to it, and it starts taking shape as a room, and then that room starts taking shape as like a hospital sort of room, and then you can actually sort of bring it in through some visual elements that there's a memory that's starting to occur.
Oh, I just had a really interesting idea, because I was thinking, like, yeah, hospital room obviously makes sense if the kid was sick at the end, but I was also thinking just like their bedroom or other places. What could be really cool is if you did an effect where, based on where your head was positioned when you're in the void, the room would change. So it's almost like an optical illusion kind of thing, where it could even be from the particular angle your head's at, and as you move it, and so it's almost like a lenticular thing. But I'm sure you could manage to do that in 3D with shaders and stuff, where, yeah, if you kind of move your head slightly to the left and but still keep focused on the same point, then the room sort of shifts with your movement to become the kid's bedroom. You move it back, it's a hospital room. You move it a bit further, and it's like the lab or something. Like you could have a really interesting effect on that. To sort of
have to be a slow shift, though. It couldn't be like a lenticular where you're like, and now it's lab, hospital room, kid's bedroom, lab, hospital. It'd just give you headaches.
Angles, you'd have to tweak the angles.
But I really like that too. Like, maybe you get into a certain position and then you see that it's actually a hospital room, but the majority of the time you just think of it as a kid's bedroom, or a bedroom is starting to form, sort of thing.
Yeah, or it could just be in certain situations this happens, like it could even be story elements, like maybe these diary entries even play out in the void or something, like as opposed to just reading them. There's some sort of
fully
animated.
Voice acted. There we go. We're adding extra things that we need to do.
Well, this is the podcast where we're allowed to blue sky it a bit more. If you actually make it, they can be just literal written diary entries. But yeah, I'm thinking like not just fully voice acted, but like animated in front of you, that you're seeing these sort of ghostly things play out, and all the while being able to kind of move your head and having things slightly shift, your perspective slightly shift and stuff. Yeah, it could be cool.
So, I don't know, I just really, really thought that idea was actually quite cool. I think we can leave it around there. I mean, we did talk a little bit about the different puzzle types.
Talk briefly about the different puzzle types you were thinking of.
For that, I'm actually going to bring up what I was thinking.
Well, I'll talk about the one I remember, because I liked the idea, and again, I always like the physicality of VR and how cool certain things can feel when you do them. And so I was thinking about like different vision modes, and that I really wanted to just be able to kind of like tap the side of your head, or it may end up being that you like move your controller up to the side of your head and pull the trigger or something, but like or hit one of the buttons. But flicking between the vision modes, and so one of the things could be that like the particular robots can see in infrared or see heat vision, or see like the wires through the walls or something, like the electricity that goes through
like
the
an
walls.
X-ray vision or something like that.
Yeah, like an X-ray vision with, or like even just like the detective mode from Batman sort of thing.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. And so the puzzles are around kind of like linking up different systems to have different effects. A bit like, what was a gunpoint? Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah, where you could go into your mode where you like connect a switch up to a light, and if someone hits it, then it turns that off, and then you can hook it up to a door or whatever. Like you could do that sort of thing.
Yeah. So the 8 puzzle types were wire and loop, which we've already talked about. The heat and night vision variations. Letter cubes. So basically doing letter puzzles, but with like baby letter blocks. I
Okay.
really like that idea of being able to switch between the 6 different letters, and
Yep.
knowing that this letter cube is definitely in the first position, but you got 6 different ways that you can sort of put it in.
Oh,
it's got that
I see.
real interactivity.
Yep.
Word searches, which we talked about,
Yep.
whether that be the hidden object version or the move around the room to get the
Yep. To get the little letters to line up. Yep.
Yep. Slide puzzles and jigsaw. I really like that idea of the physicality of picking something
Yeah,
up.
again, I like having to actually 3D physics objects of the puzzle pieces and just sort through them and stuff.
Some sort of maze. I like that idea. One of the maze ideas I did come up with was had a variation on having just a blank map sort of in front of you, but if you turned off the light, well, you had a headlamp on. So if you turned off the headlamp and used the black light, you could actually see on the wall there was it showed the walls and any traps in the maze. So you could actually you had to switch between the two to actually solve, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that idea actually. I like the idea that you actually have to maybe switching on the light to see the
Where
map
the controls
itself.
are for the map.
Yeah, and then turning off the light and having to navigate it based on what you've just seen, kind of thing, without actually being. Yeah, that's cool.
Logic puzzles. I like logic puzzles. So
As in, having to deal with and or situations and
and
that
or,
sort of thing.
Or just turning switches at the right time, or doing
Right.
something with maybe physically picking up logic gates and sort of
Yeah,
you
like
could do
a flow,
something.
like a flow of electricity through that. That sort of thing where it's different pieces you can put in different slots to solve it. Yeah.
And then the final one was a cipher. So one of the biggest things in the Fool's Errand was a simple substitution cipher, of which it gave you a code word that you had to sort of work out, and then you could play with it from there. But how that would work in VR, I didn't quite think of.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be VR specific, that one. It could just be, solving it. But yeah, that's cool. Well, I really hope that you start working on that, and I'm sure we'll discuss it further. And my advice was just get one puzzle working. I think the wire and hoop puzzle would be pretty simple to just get that working and get some triggers happening so that it does something if you hit the edges or whatever and tells you.
So what I was thinking about that, because of let's go for a story of Fallout 4 VR.
Okay.
If you've ever played Fallout 4, there's in the game there was this lockbox that came up at the end of the tutorial area, in which you couldn't pick up this really, really powerful gun. Well, in the VR version, you could literally because you could actually put your hand inside the case.
Yeah.
You could actually put your hand inside the case and pick it up. So I think the idea of being able to sort of take the hoop out of there, and it's oh look, I'm all the way out, and then put it in the other side. Yeah, that'll kind of defeat the whole idea of the puzzle.
Yeah, but I think you could probably have some pretty effective, just set up some triggers and stuff so that literally that object isn't allowed out of a certain space.
Well, my idea was that you put it down into this one area at the very start, and it charges it up. Mm-hmm. And so you got some electricity sort of humming. If it touches the edge, it loses some of that power. If it gets removed completely, it loses all the power and discharges completely. Right. So the whole idea being is you got to stay away from the thing, get to the other side, and then you can power up this system.
Well, that could bring in some interesting aspects to the puzzle as well, because you could have obstacles that you sort of have to avoid, even things moving along the wire that's going to discharge your power if you touch them. So it's not only you can't touch the edges of the wire, it's you have to time it right so that you wait for it to pass and then you go along that section of the wire or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think that would be too hard to do. I mean, it's a very simple sort of Blender object that I could put together.
Oh yeah, and just put it. Look, this is the thing. Put it together basically. Grey box it, as they say. Just put together that one puzzle. Put 3 of them in a space. Then start working on being able to jump into the different positions. Don't even worry about story stuff to begin with. Just try to get it working.
No, it's literally just see whether it's actually fun. If it's not fun, then make it fun.
or abandon it and do one of the other 400 games we've come up with. All right. Yeah. Speaking of which, shall we move on from that and go to our usual? So for those who just joined us and who sat through that last 25 odd minutes after editing, we shall see, of one single game. Usually we're a bit quicker than that because we are playing Click Pitch, and this is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we'll click refresh, we'll get a new word, and we will smush those words together. Make a paste. Make a lovely game paste. Spread it on some bread. And there's the listeners. The listeners gobble it up.
Okay.
Gobble up our game paste.
God.
3, 2, 1, click.
One click. Reminder.
Proving. Have you played Horizon Zero Dawn?
Yes, I have.
So in that there was my mind went straight to the proving, as in like some sort of test, some sort of test of might or test of ability.
Sounds much better than my idea.
in some grand, some culture that does this for some reason. Now, I'm not sure where reminder will come in. Maybe you've slept in on your proving, the date of your proving.
So I'll just quickly say my idea, because my idea is not going to go anywhere. So back when I was a Pizza Hut manager, one of the things that you had to do when you were making the dough is it's basically you proof it, but in America it's quite often known as proving rather than proofing. So I just thought, well, you set a reminder to say, well, in half an hour I need to check it to make sure it hasn't risen too much.
So it's literally about just watching yeast rise.
Yeast rise.
Yeah.
But you can't watch it because it's within like a like a cabinet, so you can only open the cabinet every now and again. Otherwise, you. So
it's all about not opening the cabinet too soon to fuck up your pizza dough. Yeah. Let's not do that one. Let's do mine.
Okay. Yeah.
Because hey, look, maybe this is a world where the most prestigious job of all time is pizza delivery person. Just to bring your idea into it somewhat.
Fuck my idea.
No, but I like this. I like bringing in the pizza thing. And so all kids, all teenagers, when they reach 18, they get their driver's license. If they think they're up for it, they go to the proving, and it's a test of pizza delivery skills, because this world runs on pizza, and the faster you can get it to someone, the more highly you are respected. The pay is still shit.
So it's just Crazy Taxi, but delivering pizzas.
Well, except I think also this is a world where they created pizza technology before vehicular technology.
Okay.
So you're running with pizzas. Maybe you've got a wagon.
Are you sure the pizzas aren't being delivered from space?
No, that's a different thing. So I think it's maybe a bit of like parkour type stuff, but you've got a pizza in your hand, like you're balancing the pizza or pizzas.
Parkour and pizza. That's a sight to behold.
Assassin's cheese. I don't know.
God.
Anchovies Creed? No. All right.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something there. That might be it. That might be all that was there, and we've said it now. You think so? Yeah.
So gobble up that game paste and 3, 2, 1, click.
That is definitely only sign off forever.
Oh, God,
Charge.
no. Preserving.
It's it's a version of something like Desert Bus for Hope, or that's not the game. Desert Bus. Or did you play that game Jalopy?
Oh, I remember you telling me about it, but I don't remember playing it.
I haven't played very much of it, but the idea is it's sort of a cross country. It's just sort of chill driving game, and you work on your car and stuff. It's that, but you're in an electric car, and so you really have to. It's all about preserving your charge of your car, so you actually get to your destination.
Okay.
So it's kind of a road trip movie, like a road trip game, I guess, in a way. And so you could have some narrative elements, but I do kind of like the idea of just a chill, open-ish world game where you've got a goal, but you can just drive. You're just driving across these grand landscapes in your electric vehicle.
And basically, what I'm seeing is that you're trying to not put too much attention on yourself.
Okay, maybe you're trying to smuggle something.
Well, I'm thinking if the cops pull you over and see all the preserved heads in your trunk, you're kind of fucked. So I think the idea of being able to take it nice and easy, again, not telling the player that that's what you got in the trunk. You keep it all nice and easy.
I think you start them off, they're like, you literally start them off on the open road, and they're discovering things about your journey as they go. But the trunk is locked, and they can't find the key, and so it's not until later on when you get to open it that you find the severed heads.
Okay, so is it more that you come to in like you come to in like at like a gas station, and you've got the keys to the car. You turn on the car, and basically it's all you've got is like a note saying you must get across, get to this.
You must
this
get
sort
to
of
this
place.
location with the car intact.
Yeah, and that's all you sort of get, and then as you go, you start realizing that things aren't
Things aren't what they seem, and you're not who you seem to be.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the idea that you've got your license though, maybe.
Yeah.
But until you find a mirror, you don't notice that your photo is not the same. Is not on the license. That's someone else's.
Yeah, sure, why not?
No, I like that idea a lot of sort of a chill mystery. It's like you can just, because I don't think it's that you have to be there by a certain time. I think it's just that you have to get there, and so you can just drive. You can just chill. You can meet people. You can talk to people along the way. You can look at the
take side
scenery.
missions.
You can take side missions. You can pick up hitchhikers.
The hitchhikers could be like, that's where some of the dialogue trees and the conversations.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where you learn a bit more about yourself by talking to them.
And when they start commenting on what's that smell, you go, what smell?
I farted.
It smells like rotting carcass.
Well, I've been eating a lot of red meat.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea, and to not have necessarily you're going on a murderous spree across America or wherever you're driving.
Well, maybe you twist it on them again. Like eventually they find the severed heads, but then it turns out you're just like a professor who like studies cadavers or something.
Yeah, so it's just a fake,
and it's legitimate. Yeah,
you're literally, you've just transferred to this other university, and you're literally taking, your preserved specimens, and
and the reason you passed it, and the reason you've got memory loss is from all the formaldehyde fumes.
That's great. So it's just improperly stored severed heads.
Yeah, exactly. Improperly stored severed heads. That's what they're going to put on your death certificate.
Yeah, I like the idea that you're driving around sort of a procedurally generated countryside.
Yeah.
So you get different sorts of things happening on the side roads. Maybe you can take like back roads and that sort of stuff. That could be kind of cool as well.
It doesn't even necessarily need to be procedurally generated. I think they've got the tech now to, effectively create large swaths of land that's, they would be procedurally generated to some degree within that, like the scenery and stuff. But
afterwards they're sort of
the roads,
curated.
the roads are all handcrafted and
Yep.
the where the buildings are and the missions are and stuff. I think that could be. It's your basic open world.
I've got this picture of you driving down sort of like the interstate, and massive storms sort of happening, and you can only see sort of like 10, 15 feet in front of you, and you just see like someone just step out right in front of you, and you're slamming on the brakes sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of, oh my God, did I kill the guy?
There's a ton of little interesting moments you could have. That could be a decision that you that you have to make. What to do with them? That'd be interesting. Take off their head and put it in your boot.
If you know at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm picturing if you're going through like the Midwest sort of states.
Yeah, of course. It's that classic sort of American Route 66 road trip kind of thing.
Yep. I'm just trying to think what sort of state would have tornadoes, because I like the idea that you got to sort of take a big detour because of a tornado.
Right. You just see it in the distance.
And it's literally ripping up houses and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, look, there's an element of what's that cool, real moody game? Fuck. Kentucky Route Zero.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. A bit of that in there, where it's sort of this, maybe not quite as surreal as that one, but that same road trippy vibe with your companions and stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, let's click again.
3, 2, 1, click.
Replacing.
Sister.
Oh, okay. I mean, this lends itself to a narrative, obviously, quite well, but I'm wondering whether there's something a bit more traditionally gamey we could do about it, since we We do a lot of just world building sort of stuff.
Yep. I mean, what I'm sort of picturing is you play this young girl, and you're playing with your brother in the backyard, and there's some sort of accident.
Okay.
And when your brother comes back from the hospital, he's not quite the same.
Okay.
And I'm picturing it as sort of like maybe a creepy sort of narrative game, sort of maybe maybe an adventure game just from the point of view of being the sister of.
Yeah, and he's basically like it's a changeling or some sort of situation where he's
robot or some sort of.
Well, yeah,
basically,
that's definitely
again,
where my
it's sort of
mind
world building, but
yeah, well, that's kind of why. Like my mind went there first, and yeah, we could definitely come up with an interesting narrative about that if it kind of writes itself. Which is why I was more thinking, let's move more towards a gamey sort of like how could you make let's say a couch co-op game about replacing a sister or using that
or
being yeah. Like some sort of siblings, or maybe it's just that they're replacing something else. Maybe it's like a game where you're a bunch of siblings, sisters, who you've all got your bedrooms and you're like stealing stuff from each other's bedrooms, like replacing things, or I don't know. Like I'm trying to, I want to make something fun, fast paced that's all about the mechanics, since it's so easy to just write a narrative around a sister who, someone who's been replaced by a robot.
Okay, so it's a top down sort of picture of this house.
Yep.
You got 4 bedrooms. You got and like a bathroom.
Okay.
I'm liking the idea that it's these. Maybe it's a Brady Bunch style family in which you've got like a whole heap of sisters and a whole heap of brothers. So you can sort of choose who you want to play in this family. And I do like the idea of it being, you borrowing things and having to try and replace it back in the room without.
Yeah, well,
noticing.
maybe it's around like the morning routine, because when you said bathroom, there's the whole thing of like people. There's the whole thing of big families with like everyone waiting for someone in the bathroom because they're taking ages or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it is literally like you've got a bunch of goals, and it's things like find a clean shirt, have a shower. This is not necessarily in this order.
Yeah.
Go to the toilet, eat your breakfast, and you've got a certain amount of time to do it, but you don't have everything in your room that you need because either someone's taken it already, or it's like, my brother, like all my shirts are dirty, so I've got to steal one of my brothers, or sisters for that matter. Like, It doesn't necessarily take away points to wear something different.
So I like the idea that you can actually, like, while they're in the bathroom, you can quickly run into their room, pick up the shirt that they've got prepared, and, like, take it and throw it down the stairs, and basically making them take more time to actually do some stuff.
Or you could just use that shirt, and then that's yours, like, because they left it out while they, because they didn't do things in an order that was, that was clever enough. But maybe, and I'm thinking, like, each sibling can have different abilities, so it's like... I got to come up with names that aren't the ones I usually come up with. Owen can piss real fast. So, like, he doesn't take much time in the bathroom. But he's, like, slow.
He's slow when having a shower because he likes his me time.
Yeah, or something like that. Or just at different speeds at moving around, maybe different abilities to, like, rummage through a drawer and find something, Maybe
so
maybe there's sort of little mini games, like, to find things in drawers or something like that.
I like the idea that basically each round is like maybe 4 minutes or so, and it's literally as you start, it's 4 minutes till the bus arrives for school.
Yeah,
and so basically you get as much as you can done ready with it, and it's also making lunch and having a shower, all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
But you get points based on what you got finished.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter. No matter what, in 4 minutes you're going.
Well, I think you still have to make the bus. So you have to give yourself that time to get to the bus because you can miss the bus, but then you lose points or whatever. But I also like the idea that your previous day's work carries on to the next day. So maybe there's almost sort of a little bit of a Sims vibe of, well, you didn't manage to make your lunch before you left yesterday. You did make the bus, but you were hungry all day, and so today you move slower. There are gameplay effects from how the things you did badly the day before.
You didn't leave yourself enough time to get dressed. You went out in a towel, and everyone teased you at school. Exactly,
and so your morale goes down or whatever. Yeah, I think you can totally end up going to school, in your underwear. I also like the idea that, yes, the sort of Brady Bunch thing, but they actually are all like twins or triplets, or like depending on how many players you've got. It's just like another egg split. It split another time. So you can have up to like
Here's
8 players.
A story of octuplets.
Yeah, exactly. This is just the like parent in the middle just going like, oh my God. Kill me now.
And I kind of like the idea that, you know, so that they're not getting in the way. The parent or whatever is basically just as they're leaving, they're like, "You got 4 minutes till the bus arrives," and just slams the door and goes off to work. So they're not even there.
Right,
it's sort of like being left to do everything themselves.
Well, but they could be interesting things like maybe there's maybe you've got a certain like level of how good you've been lately or something, and so if you've been pretty good, the parent will make lunch for certain people, but then of course other people could steal those lunches. But maybe there are penalties to like, or maybe not penalties, but maybe there are buffs, like extra things that if you manage to take your lunch to school, the one that was made for you, like it's a bonus because you know you didn't get the one that had peanuts in it because you've got a peanut allergy. And
I kind of like the idea that there's actually like an older sibling can also possibly be played, and their extra things that they can get is by helping the other people. So they could. You know, go down and make some lunch. They could go down and help find the shirt and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And you get points based on if the shirt that belongs to, say, Caitlin's actually wearing that. You get points based on that. But if Emily is wearing Caitlin's shirt, then you lose points because
you sort of didn't manage to keep the house in order well enough for them to get the right. Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing actually because it probably actually benefits everybody to do things in an orderly fashion because then more people will get buffs for the next day, and so that could actually be a really interesting loop where people are backstabbing others by like stealing shirts and lunches and things to get their own points higher.
Yeah,
but it would actually make everything move more smoothly if you just all cooperated.
Yeah,
yeah. So there's sort of that short-term points today versus long-term points of having a smoothly running system.
I like it.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right. Did you
Real
want
quick? Traveling.
Lie. L-I-E, not L-Y-E, because you're not a murderer in this traveling game.
Okay, so you're traveling along the road and the cop pulls you over and you got to lie to him about why you got 7 heads in your trunk.
I'm thinking this is maybe more of like a traveling salesman sort of thing.
Okay.
Because that's definitely, there's a lot of lying going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether it's is more of a narrative game again or we make it more gameplay-ish, I'm not sure. Like, there could definitely be an interesting story told about a traveling salesman, although that's a little bit similar to the road trip one we've already done.
Yeah, but you could very much change it to the point of, you're going from town to town and sort of just looking for marks and...
Yeah, it'd be a very different tone. I don't know, how would that play out? How you thinking like typical kind of third person 3D?
Yeah,
because I'm just trying to think. You knock on someone's door and they answer the door. How does the gameplay play out? Like, is it dialogue trees? How do you put into gameplay how effective you're being at a salesman, or are there other tricks you can pull to make them? Well, is there a put your foot in the door button?
Well, I'm thinking that maybe this is like you play a con man, and you've got to sort of like look at you're trying to run a salesman grift sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so you sort of like eyeing off the mark and sort of going, okay, they like this sort of stuff. They were looking in the shop trying to see what vacuum they actually wanted to buy. Okay, I can be a vacuum salesman sort of thing, and you can sort of plan out your grift. I do like that
idea of sort of like finding the pieces of information you need to plan a con. So maybe it is, instead of actually being a traveling salesman game, it's you're a part of a group of grifters. And so it's sort of about it's about finding the appropriate mark and then pulling it off.
Yeah.
And you've got all your cool like code names for your different grifts and Yeah, wait, okay. We're going to do the shoemaker's hustle on that guy over there, and then we'll follow it up with grandma's ashes. I don't know.
And the grandma's ashes is literally just an urn of grandma's ashes that you use to vacuum up.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's like, but you can manage to convince them that it's actually your grandma. They feel so bad for you that you had to vacuum up your grandma's ashes that they buy a vacuum cleaner.
Oh god, that's so bad.
All right, I don't know. I think we get the idea of that one. It could be a cool narrative, definitely. Somebody like there needs to be more games that are just those sort of narratives around interpersonal stuff. And I get that that's not easy. It's harder to make a game that's not just about shooting things or attacking things. Or
attacking things in groups of people in which you're attacking another group of people, and yeah. But more single player narrative sort of stuff that is just a fun story that
doesn't even have to have combat. Yeah,
I mean, look at how well Doki Doki Literature Club went, and that was barely a game.
Well, or even things like Life is Strange, right?
Oh yeah,
like that did huge. And that was great. I haven't finished it, but
neither have I. I need to go back and play it. I enjoyed what I played.
Me too, especially since the sequel's coming out soon. All right. Shout, let it all out. Shout, my words, shout.
Vinyl.
Got a few things going through my head, but nothing that stands out as a game. Like for vinyl, obviously there's like vinyl records, but I've also a couple times it's come up lately of like, you know, how you can do the vinyl wraps on cars to like put an image on a car. Because there was this video that my wife was just like pissing herself at, where this British woman played a prank on her husband by wrapping his car in images of herself. It just says like "I love my wife" on the side, and he was so pissed off. So I don't know if there's a game in wrapping cars with vinyl things, but
I mean, all I'm sort of thinking and seeing is like that scene from Shaun of the Dead where you're throwing vinyl records at like a zombie. I mean, could be fun in VR, but that's, you know.
Yeah. The only other thing I had was, again, along those lines of narrative games that don't involve combat. I was thinking of the movie High Fidelity, hipsters working in a record store, basically, and shouting at people who, you know, don't have their taste in music.
I mean, now all I'm thinking about is Empire Records and going, it's Rex Manning Day.
You know what? I don't think I ever saw that.
Really?
That's a missing part of my,
That's just sad.
Generation.
Dude. That's sad.
Is it Liv Tyler in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in that.
But yeah, like a narrative. It could even be like a graphic novel sort of thing, working in a record store. I don't know. Could be cool.
Playing different vinyls all the time, shouting at customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like fun. Very one click.
Yeah. Discarding.
Splitting.
That's very broad. How many things can you split? Bananas?
Yeah, but don't forget it's a noun, so I don't know how splitting is a noun.
Well, either is discarding. Anyway.
Doesn't make sense.
Splitting? It was just split, was it?
Splitting.
Oh, it was
ING
splitting. Okay.
SPLITTING.
I mean, we can take it as a noun, as like a banana split. Maybe it's like a restaurant game. But that's
not
been done so many times. Well, I think we've reached the last episode of Bitstorm. We've run out of ideas.
I was just thinking about something that we did ages and ages ago, in which you had a waitress that could like hypnotize people. You know?
No, that's true. That was with the guest, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. That was fun. We need more guests. 3 more. Click.
Momentum.
Lodge.
Sorry. The first thing that my mind went to was that Simpsons episode with the fucking the rocket house going down the hill. Because it's a lodge.
I know.
And it's got momentum. All right, well, I think it's definitely something going down a hill.
Okay, bear with me. You're in a lodge at the top of like a snowy mountain.
Yes.
And something has happened that basically the lodge has started slipping.
Right.
you can see that there's like some dangerous things ahead that if you hit, you're going to like cause massive amounts of damage. So you've got to like set off like fireworks in like the right way to actually turn the set off fireworks to like turn the house.
Turn the house like with the reverse inertia
slowly.
of it or whatever. So it's just firing out fireworks. Well, I like the idea that like if they land in some trees, then you've just created a new hazard because now there's a fucking forest fire. Yeah.
What do you think? Don't like?
No. I'm just trying to think of because I like the idea that it starts off really slowly
And it gathers more momentum.
exactly, but it's just like it's moving slowly down this hill. I'm not sure about the fireworks thing. I think it's more.
You got to build like a massive like what's the thing that goes at the back of like a boat?
Oh, like the rudder?
Yeah, a massive rudder to sort of.
Well, I was kind of thinking that there's like crafting aspects and building aspects. So initially, you just try to like stop it. You try to, wedge it. You try to build some bracing to stop it, and you can do that, and it gives you a bit more time. But for whatever reason, this house is determined to move down this hill. And so it just busts through it after a little while. And so for a while, you can be getting in and out of the house because it's not moving fast enough.
It's only going sort of like 5 centimeters every minute or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can kind of slow that down a bit and you can be preparing for things. But it's going to pick up speed. And for whatever reason, we'll come up with a reason, you have to be in that house. Like if you lose the house, and maybe you've got ways to catch up with it, like grappling hooks and shit, or skis. I love the idea of having to ski down the hill and build up enough speed without hitting anything to get back into your runaway house.
So what I'm loving is
could be
like
a multiplayer thing too,
I'm seeing right in the very bottom of the hill, there's like this orphanage, and it's like so the whole idea is
do not let this house hit the orphanage.
It's down the bottom of this mountain, which is Mount Avalanche.
Mount Avalanche. I like the idea of this as a multiplayer thing. Like you could have 2 to 4 players, and they're all having to work together to like build ways to steer it or direct it in certain ways, or maybe you end up building a something that's going to knock trees out of the way in front of you so you don't damage the house up too much or damage the house more because you're just going to destroy it before it hits the orphanage. I don't know. But I kind of like this idea that, every round of this game, and maybe there are different modes or something where it's other unconventional vehicles that you have to like build shit onto. But one of them is a house is definitely going to go down the side of this mountain. Another one of them is this tree house is definitely going to take off like a rocket.
Another one is this toboggan is literally. I'm just picturing
this toboggan
you sit down on this toboggan, and the whole idea is that you got to like catch up to a kid that's just gotten away on another toboggan. So.
Because he called you a douche, and you need to punch him.
Yeah, so that's just another mode. It's like one multiplayer person plays the kid getting away, and the other person. The other
players they're all chasing him. Yeah, totally. It's just momentum based games.
Yeah,
with aspects of building stuff. Yeah, that's people would play that. People love building stuff. Look at Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing Fortnite's missing is a house sliding down a hill.
Okay, should we do one more?
Let's try one more.
3, 2, 1, click. Speech.
Bread. Or toast, because I got toast first, and then I clicked, and then I got bread. Immediately after. Speech.
Yep.
Bread. Maybe you are a loaf of bread giving a speech. I don't know where the game is in this.
No.
Giving a speech to the rest of the bread products. Because you don't want to become toast, and it's like this. No, that's terrible.
Okay, so it's a game in which you're giving a toast or a speech.
Oh, okay.
The idea being that you can sort of take both in
yes
both ways. Should your character maybe be a speechwriter, and so you're basically trying to write different speeches,
trying to affect change through the speeches you write.
Yeah, I can sort of see it.
Is this West Wing the video game?
Could very well be.
I love the idea. I love the idea of the walking scenes in The West Wing, but they're like the Crash Bandicoot scenes where you're running towards the camera.
Dodging people that you can't
dodging
see.
people who are walking the other way. You can only see them coming at the last second. The whole time there's just like paragraphs of exposition spouting from one of the characters.
Where's the gameplay? Well, it's just like what is it, Dragon's Lair or whatever, in which you got to press buttons at the right time. Other than that, it just runs by itself.
Yeah, basically. I love that. I would love to pitch that. It's West Wing the game, but built like the Crash Bandicoot sections where you're running towards the screen. I think that's it. I think that game's done. That's all we need.
And I reckon that's good enough to finish on. So
I think so. Yeah, well, thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us on the internet, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Go to those things and click all the likes and the follows and the hearts and the upvotes and the hashtags. We have a Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Bitstorm. Come and tell us what you thought about stuff. We're on YouTube. Search for Bitstorm. You might find us. We're on Podchaser, podchaser.com/Bitstorm, where you'll definitely find us. And you can leave us ratings and reviews there and put us in lists. And very soon you'll be able to click on our beautiful faces and see our creator profiles and see other episodes of shows we've been on and find our other podcast, Two Sweaty Dads.
32 episodes of like horrible audio and then gets
32 episodes of American Cheese.
If you have an Apple device, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, where we can be found, and you can rate, review, and subscribe there. We've got a website, bitstormcast.com. I'd like to plug our friends, the AGPN, the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just check out hashtag AGPN on Twitter or look for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. Finally, we'd like to thank us from Kuradust for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
Gobble that game paste. Gobble that game paste. Game paste.